until all have heard.
Welcome back to Friends in Action International's podcast, Till All Have Heard, where we celebrate people and stories who make an impact globally around the world for Jesus Christ. Today, I'm honored to have Herb Steffy with us to give a little bit about his background. Herb was recently awarded the Amanda Brandt Volunteer Appreciation Award. Herb and Bev have been faithfully serving here and were nominated by their staff and by their peers and approved by the Brandt family for this award. We are honored to have both Herb and Bev recognized as the recipients of this award this year. If you want to find out more about the Amanda Brandt Award, you can go onto our website and click the Give button. And there's actually a memorial foundation set up on her behalf, and you'll learn more about the story there. Herb, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Before we dive in, I want to say congratulations on receiving the Amanda Brandt Award.
Thank you.
What did that recognition mean to you and Beverly? One, to be nominated by your peers here at Friends in Action, and two, to have the Brandt family confirm your nomination.
Well, first of all, we were very surprised because I'm technically a staff person. I didn't know that I was eligible for the award. I did appreciate we both appreciated the recognition. But we're here to serve. We're not here to be recognized. But it's nice to have people let you know that they do appreciate what you do. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was an honor to bless you with that. And I know your nomination in front of the Brandt family, it was pretty much an easy decision for them, knowing how much you and Bev have dedicated your retirement here to volunteer and be on our staff at Friends in Action. So, Herb, I'd love to have the listeners get to know you a bit better. Can you tell us a bit about where you grew up and kind of what early life for you was like?
Okay. Well, I spent the first 5 or 6 months of my life with my mother's parents in Paradise, Pennsylvania. And then Mom and Dad bought a house beside Dad's parents in Bearville, Pennsylvania, and we were there for about 4 years. And then Dad bought a greenhouse, set of greenhouses between East Peterborough, near Roots Auction, Roots Country Market, it's called now. And so that's where I grew up, spent the remainder of my growing up years working with Dad. I said he bought the greenhouses because there was no retail flower business attached to it. The previous guy had retired, and so Dad had to build the business up by himself. So I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up doing with a lot of chores, things that had to be done, things that had to be watered before I went to school, and things that had to be watered after I home from school and summertime and all that kind of stuff. But I am the oldest of 6 kids, and enjoyed that time growing up there, working with Dad in the greenhouse.
No, that's great. I'm familiar with where you're referring to, where you grew up, and I'm sure that led to understanding a good work ethic and what hard work was like. So leading up then a little bit further down the road, what led you to Friends in Action? What was your previous career? And then what opened the doors to work here with us as a volunteer staff?
My background is teaching and teacher education, along with a few other side things. I taught grades 4 through 8 in Virginia for 7 years. And then God called us to move to North Carolina to help start a church, and I served as the pastor of that church we were there for 8 years. And during that time, I was a bivocational pastor, and my day job was I got a job working for Choice Books. Choice Books is a wholesale distributor of Christian paperback books, and they were expanding and needed a representative to work in North Carolina. So that worked out well. Did that for, we were there for 8 years, and then they asked us to move to Florida. So we relocated to Central Florida, Kissimmee to be precise, and I worked for another couple years. But after 495,000 miles on 3 different vehicles, I was ready for a change, and so they were opening a new middle school just down the street from where we lived in Florida. And Bev had gotten a job at the elementary school, which was even closer. So I went and applied for a job and got a job, and then spent the next 10 years teaching 8th grade science. I used to tell my kids that they were smarter than me. This was their first time in 8th grade, and this was my 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th time in 8th grade, and that they usually appreciate that. But then I got a chance that time to go back and get a free master's degree. I had earned a previous master's degree, but a free master's degree is always a good idea. I enjoyed it so much that I went on and got my doctorate, and then taught at the college level for the next 12 years, and then finished up my career as an administrator, college administrator at Shippensburg University. So that's my background. Retired there, and found a couple odd jobs to do. And then Barry Horst, who was at that time the shipping manager here, announced at church one Sunday that Paul Brosey was looking for lawnmowers. And I had done that for a while for our church in Florida. So I volunteered and came over and met Paul and Don Gilbreth. And so for that summer, I mowed. And then when Bev and I moved to the Londonderry Village, a retirement center, Barry says, now you got more time. Come help me in the warehouse. And so then one thing led to another, and that's why I'm here.
Very good. That's interesting. So you started out as mowing grass? Started
out mowing grass one day every 3 weeks, day and a half, whatever long it took. Mm-hmm. And so.
And now responsible for organizing and warehousing all the items that come through, basically through our doors and go out again.
Yep.
So very good. Well, as I mentioned earlier, your wife, Bev, is such a blessing here as well. So tell us a little bit about what that's like, what that journey has been like for the both of you here at Friends in Action.
Well, we go way back. I said that we moved to East Petersburg when I was 4. About 2 years later, our moms were in the same Sunday school class, which was a big church, and the Sunday school classes in those days stayed together forever. And they functioned like life groups do in current churches. Mm-hmm. And the second summer we were there, they had a summer picnic, and I was the biggest boy in the group, so they picked me to be the farmer. We played a little game, Farmer in the Dell, and I picked Bev for my wife. So that's when we were, I think, 6 and 7 or something like that. But so we go way back. But throughout all of our careers, she's also a teacher, and so we never taught at the same school. But we had the same schedule. We were always in the same school district, so we understood how each other's careers worked. And if she had to work over late, I knew what it was like, and if I had to work late, so we've worked that together off and on. I mean that way. In the pastorate, she was always there. When I was teaching at the college level in Ohio, I did quite a bit of work with the Campus Crusade group that was on campus, and Bev thought that she was a first-grade teacher. She couldn't relate to college kids. But the first time she met him, she fell in love with him. And before long, we were having the leadership team to our house for Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner and those kind of things. And so it's some really good years. So we've done a lot of stuff together. She's been very, very supportive. We've owned 6 houses in 5 different states. And each time it was me who was leading the way, or God who was leading me away, and she willingly came along, and so it's been good, and I appreciate that she's decided to get more involved here, because then she knows the people I'm working with, and you know her, and you know me, and that kind of thing. So it's been good for us to be involved that way.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's. You mentioned you first kind of met and at that picnic, and you were about 7 years old. So from little to now, legacy of your volunteerism is just an amazing story. What as either together as a couple or yourself, what was your first understanding or exposure? You were a pastor and things, but what was the real understanding of how you felt God settling you here at Friends in Action, that maybe that calling, or that you felt that where God has blessed you, you were able to contribute here at Friends?
We Bev's parents were church people, but missions was not something that was on their radar in any way, shape, or form. My mother was a registered nurse, and there was a lady in her nursing class who she and her husband were missionaries in Argentina for a good number of years. And so when they would come home on furlough, we would get together with them, and so I knew of them. And our pastor's son and his wife were missionaries in Israel as I was growing up, and so had some of those. But then when I was pastoring and when we were living in Florida, anytime there was a mission conference at church, almost any time, Bev and I would volunteer to host the missionaries in our home because in every case we had extra space that we could put them up, which was the standard procedure in those days. And so we learned to know quite a few missionaries and that kind of thing. But I think the thing that back up to my teaching days, one of the things that I always thought was really, really important was that during the summers when teachers had off, in quotes, I would typically go to a temp agency and get some kind of a temp job, partly because the extra cash was nice, but partly because I think it was really, really important for me to keep in touch with the world outside of education. We have far too many teachers, a little commercial here, far too many teachers who go through 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, and right back into the classroom and have no idea what the world of their kids' parents is like. And so I really felt that was important. And so that was one of the things that really attracted me to FIA, because here we are taking people who typically would not, and I've heard you say this before, you never saw yourself as a missionary because you're a welder, but people who love the Lord, who want to serve the Lord, and we provide an opportunity for them. And back to Barry Horst, during that time when I was mowing, he made a trip with FIA to Vanuatu. And when he came back and talked about the water project and all of that, I mean, that just really excited me, because it's the kind of thing where I understand how you have to have some kind of a connection with people. Sometimes it's called you have to build a bridge that you can walk across or communicate across with people before they can hear the gospel. And so it really, really resonated with me. And so when I had the opportunity, when you talked to me about getting more involved, I was certainly interested and certainly willing to step in and help with FIA, because it's the kind of I really believe in the philosophy and the function that we're doing, the work that we're doing.
Good. That's interesting. It leads me to ask: has your perception of a quote unquote missionary over the years changed?
Yes and no. I mean, I know, I'm sure at one point I idolized missionaries a little bit. You know, you hear these stories, but again, because we had missionaries who stayed in our home as a kid, since Bev and I have had missionaries who stayed in our home, there were a group of 4 missionaries, and the three other missionary men who were at 2 different churches close by that I took golfing one morning when we lived in Ohio, and you learn to know them on a personal level. 2 of them are off the mission field now. One of them is still doing mission work in Spain, and we pray for them on a regular basis. So I've learned to know missionaries on a personal level, and know that they're just ordinary people that God has called to do a specific thing. And I think again, I've heard you say numerous times that our job at FIA is to do things that missionaries weren't trained to do, as construction projects, all the welding things and stuff that are done, mechanical things that are done, the missionaries weren't trained to do. And I just think that's a fantastic way of putting the hand in the glove, in quotes, and working together. So,
yeah, very good. I appreciate you expounding on that a little bit. Myself as well, when I was little, my parents would invite missionaries in when they were home on what they called furlough at the time. Now it's home assignment. But I think there was a bit of that glamorization because at that time, and probably even much different when you were younger, going out to the mission field and coming back to the States was not an easy thing. A lot of times missionaries went out and they were there for years and years and years before they got a chance to come home on furlough. Now it is much easier to go back and forth from different countries back to the United States. So there's still that important task of honoring the missionaries, but I think it's become more real that, oh, well, wait, it's not like I don't have to go for 10, 20 years away from my family and kids. There is an opportunity just because of the ease of transportation now to be able to come back and forth. So I think it opens up the perspective of what missionaries may have looked like a few years ago. So I appreciate you expanding that a little bit. Were you moving forward a little bit with some of your background as you volunteered here at Friends in Action? Were you involved in other volunteer acts of service, and what did that look like? And then even now, as you're with FIA, are there other areas where you and Bev focus on serving?
I had mentioned the Campus Crusade group in Ohio. With that group, it was interesting because when you work with college kids on their non-school activities, it doesn't start till 9 o'clock at night. So we'd have our large group meetings at 9 o'clock on Monday nights, and I'd get home 11:30, and then I'd meet with the executive team, the leadership team, on Wednesday nights, and again that would go from 9 to 11:30, and poor Bev would sit at home waiting for me. But so I did a lot of stuff with that, and in fact, that ministry, I ended up performing the wedding ceremony for 5 different couples that were involved in that group. So those are a variety of things like that. Back here, when we moved back to Pennsylvania, and again when I retired, another fellow at church suggested that I get involved with Align Life Ministries, and you shared that your mom was involved in that for a number of years, and so I currently am here at Friends in Action Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Tuesday and Thursdays in the morning I teach parenting classes at the Pregnancy Center, and find that very, very rewarding. And I've gotten hooked into, in quotes. No, I've answered volunteer requests to do some of their community outreach things. I was at the National Night Out. They had a display at Denver, Pennsylvania, and I was there with the display. 2 weeks ago, there was a men's ministry in New Holland that wanted us to come because they had some young fathers that they felt could benefit from our knowing about our services. So I was with them. So that's the main thing. As I said, Bev and I do live at Londonderry Village Retirement Center, and then so Monday and Wednesday I'm here, Tuesday and Thursdays I'm at Align, and then Friday mornings I teach a men's Bible study at the Village. So that gives me something to do every day of the week.
So your retirement isn't retired. Your retirement has just been a shift of focus.
I often tell people that I would much rather wear out than rust out.
Wear out than rust out. I like that. That's the nugget, Emily. That's the nugget for the day. You'd rather wear out than rust out.
I'd rather wear out than rust out. And yes, I am. I have to. Now this is my third year here. I have to call Rob to help me more often to lift stuff up than I used to. So I am starting to wear down a little bit, but I still enjoy the work, and I want to continue as long as I can.
That's good. So you mentioned Rob and possibly lifting and things in the warehouse, and we didn't really touch base on exactly kind of what your day looks like on Mondays and Wednesdays. So give the audience a brief description of what the receiving associate for our shipping and warehouse ministry does.
Well, I don't know how it used to be. Well, my version of the shipping ministry is that FIA started with construction projects, and they had to ship equipment overseas. And missionaries saw that you put a bulldozer or an excavator in a container, there's a whole lot of room around the top and the edges. And they said, "Why don't you send some stuff to us?" And I think that's kind of how the shipping ministry got started. But in today, and I don't know how they originally did it, but today missionaries apply, and when they're approved to have their things sent to them, they can contact Costco, Amazon, Home Depot, Chewy's Pet Food, whoever, and order the stuff, and they have it shipped here. Well, then that's where my job starts. I get a list of all the things that they've ordered, and I have to keep track of when that order comes in. I have to identify it, inventory it, and then when it comes time to get it ready for shipment, make sure that all of Joe Blow's material is in one pile and all of John Doe's is on another pile, and get it packaged and loaded up, and then get to play Tetris with the boxes to get them in the containers. So that's my role. When we have active containers on property, it can get hectic. There was one day when I came in that there were 70 boxes that hadn't been processed yet from various shipments. Since the last container went out 2 weeks ago, I've gotten about 5 boxes in, all for headquarters. So that part of it slowed down a little bit, but I'm getting caught up in some other things. That last shipment that we had for Chad they had a whole bunch of volunteer things that were sent, and not all of it fit in the container. And they said, "We'll save it for the next container." So Don's been in the last 2 Monday mornings, and we've gotten it shrink wrapped and put back so that it won't get dirty and it won't get messed up until they are ready for it. So there's always stuff to do.
That's right.
Picked up some trash from the back stairway to unload today, and
Yeah, and from the logistics side of things, shipping is a quite the beast on its own, with the requirements and codes and regulations that has continued to get tighter with international shipping. Your role has become even more important for the detail, the content lists, the amount that has been coming in and then going out to the correct people as well.
An example of that, I just dropped off a can of artificial snow at the Christmas Center. There was the order for Chad. They had a can of shaving cream and a can of artificial snow. They are aerosols. It would have cost them about $250 extra to ship those 2 aerosol cans because they're dangerous goods. They have to be processed differently. There's different fees with it. So they said, forget it, just dispose of them here. So I can take care of the shaving cream, but I had no use for the artificial snow. But the Christmas Center, they probably wouldn't use it either, they said, but that was okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. Thing that surprises some people is if there's food supplies, anything like vanilla that has an alcohol base has to be processed separately. And so I've learned how to put those things separately because it's a flammable material, so we have to package it separately and report it and all that. So
good. Well, I appreciate you explaining a little bit more to the audience who may not be familiar with the I was going to say complicated process, but the detailed process that's involved in shipping some of those things, where you would think here every day you wouldn't, a can of shaving cream, yeah, we'll just throw it in a container or a box and ship it on. But there are regulations that keep us within certain lanes allowed of the items that we ship. So by doing all that, by doing the work here, you start out mowing in the warehouse now with logistics and receiving. How do you, or maybe you and Bev, how do you see that and your position of receiving associate part of the grander scheme of missions, of the impact of the unreached?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I personally have only heard it once or twice, but we at the shipping department have gotten frequently comments from people about how much they appreciate the fact. We had one gentleman who wrote back and told us that the last time that he went out, he had to make all the arrangements himself. This time he contacted us and we made all the arrangements, and it was so much less headache, so much less hassle. We took care of all the work. All he had to do was fill out the paperwork and and so I see that as the kind of thing where I can plug in. I don't. I'm not available or not really able to go on a missions trip to contribute anything, but I can contribute on this side, and it gives me more specific things to pray for as far as missions go, and so I see it as a vital part. And if I can do things that help missionaries, then that's I think that's the part that God wants me to do at this point in time.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when we explain to people what Friends in Action does as far as supporting missionaries through service and construction projects, it's to help take that burden off them of building their house or building their clinic or renovating or drilling a well so they can continue to accelerate and focus on their ministry. I see the relationship the same way with shipping. If they're not concerned with having to do what you just explained, the gentleman was so grateful for, that they can focus then on continuing to minister and they continue to accelerate the gospel. When the goods get there, they know what's coming to them. They can supply their homes. They can supply the villagers and the people groups there with the much needed resources that can continue to help them accelerate the gospel. So we look at the kind of a twofold ministry here at Friends in Action. We'll call it the quote unquote construction arm and the service arm, which is part of that shipping warehouse.
And I think, especially, again, as I mentioned earlier, in today's climate, they can decide what they want. We don't have to try and figure out. We do get some volunteer stuff that's dropped off. Well, here, ship this to missionaries, but we don't know if they need it or not. We don't know if they want it or not. But with the regular standard shipping stuff, they make the order. Some people ask, what's your most unusual thing? And we had one container that had about 600 pounds of dog food in it. What would missionaries need dog food for? Well, we get to the bottom of the issue. In many countries, in other countries, dogs are not pets. And so there is no dog food industry in those countries. Dogs are often, they just find their own way. But for many of the missionaries, the dog's a security system. Keeps the wild animals away, keeps thieves away, and the one missionary told us that he could order the bags of dog food from Chewy and have it shipped here, pay us his share of the shipping, and when the food got there, his cost was about 10%, total cost, about 10% of what it would have cost him to buy the same amount of food, dog food in country, but the quality of the food was about 50 times better. And so, that's just the way it took a burden off of him. 600 pounds of dog food will last a while. Those kind of things. And again, we tend to forget that missionaries, getting back to an earlier thing, missionaries are ordinary people with ordinary problems. And they have to protect their families. They have to protect their belongings, and they have to pay for the protection. And if that's keeping a dog healthy, why, that's an important thing. The same as any kind of protection that we would want in our homes. Yeah. So, freeing them up to do that is helping us spread the gospel.
That's right. No, I appreciate that story. It's kind of the dog food story. I have the coffee story where we recently shipped at least 300 pounds of coffee to a West African country that they appreciate the coffee that we can get here in the States versus what they can get in the bush in West Africa. So thanks to our partnerships with Blessings of Hope in Lancaster, we were able to bless those missionaries with coffee for their outreaches, for them to share with the people there on the ground that they work with and they minister to. So yeah, from dog food to coffee beans, you can really get a lot of impactful resources to the missionaries. So I appreciate you sharing that story. I still remember those bags and bags of dog food. So Herb, we'll keep moving. I do want to recognize that, yes, you had mentioned that you and Bev received the volunteer award, but you feel like you are on staff, which you are. you had committed to go through our orientation process as a member of our staff. You and Bev have chosen not to support Raise for your positions here. So that's where we kind of have you as a mix of a volunteer, but you are a committed staff member. So what was that kind of process, just real quick, for you and Bev to say, yes, we are fully committed. We'll take the time to go through the orientation process to kind of be all in with Friends in Action?
I'm not sure that it was you suggested that I do it or twisted my arm. No, no, you thought it would be a good thing, and Bev and I didn't have any difficulty with it, and it has been, it's given me the opportunity to be a little bit more involved, and I appreciated the orientation. I appreciated the opportunity to learn to know some of the FIA missionaries better that we contacted with during the orientation and since then. And we, Bev and I, we joke sometimes that we're independently wealthy. That would not fly with the financial advisor, but we certainly do not need any extra income at this time. And so we'll let people, the support that we could raise, we'll let them invest that in other FIA personnel or other FIA projects. Mm-hmm. And we're just happy that God has put us in a position where we can contribute this way. We're healthy. I just had a doctor appointment this morning, and he told me that I'm in very good shape and keep up the good work. So thank you, Lord, which is what I said when I got to the car, because that allows us to do the kind of things that we do. And we are very grateful, but it also keeps it, again, back to, all of us heard stories of people who retire and sit in their front porch and die 6 weeks later. And we don't want to be that. We want to continue serving the Lord as long as we can.
That's awesome. And that just shares your heart to serve, too, and where you have that relationship with your wife, too, that you both are on the same page. So you mentioned about retiring and sitting on your front porch. So what could you say to possibly some listeners that may be in that stage of life, or maybe trying to figure out what's next for them as they approach retirement? What would be a few things you could encourage them to possibly consider, not just serving somewhere, but serving with Friends in Action?
Yeah, I think again we have lots of opportunities here. A little more specific kind of things. Right now, we're looking for a shipping manager, someone who understands the transportation industry, the supply chain kind of things. But there's all sorts of other things that can be done. We in the warehouse, we frequently can use carpenter skills. People come in and build crates for us, and there's other opportunities to on the grounds. Paul's looking volunteers to help with mowing and trimming and that kind of thing. So I think what I would suggest, if you're looking at retirement, if you're looking for a place to serve, consider give Andy a call and meet with him and talk about what's available and how you can plug in. Somewhere it says that I'm able to use my white collar skills in a blue collar position, and I think that's important that people realize that skills that you use in other careers and other professions can be used here too, and they can plug in and help spread the gospel, speed the spread of the gospel.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think what's nice is if the listeners would want to stop by on a Monday and Wednesday, they can hear it straight from you. We could give a tour of the headquarters and just at least open up the dialogue of how God can use someone. And
be happy to do that.
And I often say it's not about whose badge you wear; it's about reaching the lost for the gospel. So whether it's with us or working with a great ministry like Align Ministry. It's a great opportunity to kind of look at what does the second half of our lives look like. How can we honor God for honoring us for the first half of our life? Yep. So I appreciate you sharing. So I want to finish out with this last question, and I haven't gotten your answer ahead of time, so hopefully it's a positive one. What excites you looking forward as Friends in Action is continuing to anticipate growth and reaching into more fields and more teams next year in 2026? What excites you most about the future of Friends in Action?
I think the whole idea of seeing projects like the water project in Vanuatu that's been on the books for the last however many years, that's finally going to come to fruition. And yes, the plans have had to be changed for a variety of reasons, but we're still going to be able to provide water to people so that Pastor Gabi can share the good news with them. And I think just continuing to see how God's going to provide. He provided the last shipping manager who came in with all sorts of technical skills and background, and I think he's going to provide somebody similar. And the other thing I think is, while if you're under 40 and are looking for a place where you can plug in for the next 25 years, we can have positions for those people. But, I'm almost 79 and I'm still looking at a couple more years of service. So, if you retired at a regular age of 65 or 70 and want to put in 2 or 3 or 4 years, we have positions, we have opportunities to serve in those kind of ways also. And it's not just men. Many of a number of our trips anyhow take ladies along to serve in the kitchen. And we use volunteer cooks here for meals and stuff like that at headquarters. So there's a variety of things that women can get involved in, the same as men. Even though we think of the construction part of it as more male dominated, but
right.
we have some ladies who do a good job welding and construction work as well.
Yeah. Betty, who is probably on her way back to the States here from Vanuatu. We interviewed Betty quite a few weeks ago, her and her daughter Lauren. She was over in Vanuatu painting the trusses that the guys were fabricating and installing. So it's an opportunity, young and older alike, to be able to engage in where God may be calling them in ministry, part-time, full-time, volunteering on the weekends, things like that. So appreciate you kind of opening that door and the invite for people to come and see you here at headquarters and learn a little more about us. Herb, is there any last things that I may have forgotten to pull out of your testimony here, or things you would want to share before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I also look forward to, and we've talked before. My home church here in town is getting a new pastor, and we're looking forward to that happening. And when that happens, I want to use that opportunity to plug in another pastor with the work here, local pastor, because I think that's important too. So I think we need to continue to, and I know you have been, continue to work with local churches. I also am real excited about the work that Paul's doing with the college people, technical college people, guys who have this kind of skills that we're talking about, and that really excites me to see how that's going to move forward. So
good.
Happy to be involved, and I like the direction we're going. Keep up the good work.
Good. Well, Herb, I appreciate you being here today. If our listeners are interested in meeting Herb, again, feel free to stop at our headquarters here in Middletown on a Monday or a Wednesday or any time during the week if you'd like to speak to someone else on staff. We also have our annual banquets coming up in October 23rd and October 24th. It's the same banquet, but at 2 different locations, 2 different nights. So you get a chance to meet both Herb and Bev if you come out to those banquets. There's more information on our website at fiaintl.org.
Sorry.
That's all right. There's more information on our website at www.fiaintl.org. If you look at the top of the banner of the homepage, that talks about our banquets. Just click there. You'll be able to find out more about our banquets. this next month, and we're excited to be able to host Chris Clayman from the Joshua Project as well. So go to our website, check that out. You can also check out a bunch of other cool features of our website. You can learn some more stories. You can check out some of the staff bio pages as well. But folks, Herb and Bev represent the heart of what makes Friends in Action International possible. They're faithful servants, and they understand how God has called them into ministry. If you've been inspired by Herb's story, I want to encourage you to speak to one of us here by reaching out at our headquarters, and we'd be happy to explore where God may have you and what his next steps may be for your life. As Herb's has a proven example of God was not done with him yet. God has not been done with him and Bev, and they were able to impact FIA. But also through his ministry and through his heart to serve, he's been able to bless us and bless many, many missionaries around the world with resources and goods shipped to them so that they can accelerate the gospel until all have heard. Thanks for being with us.